Now, Iran's top diplomat says Tehran is drafting a framework for future nuclear talks with the United States. Abbas Araghchi was speaking a day after a second round of negotiations in Geneva. The talks aim to avert another US attack on Iran as Washington builds up its forces in the region. Mr. Araghchi said the two sides have agreed guiding principles to avoid conflict. But US Vice President Vance says Iran has not acknowledged all of Washington's red lines. Iran has long insisted that its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes.
But the president has all options on the table.
Well, Ellie Geranmayeh is Deputy Director of the Middle East and North Africa Programme at the European Council on Foreign Relations. So welcome to DW. On the face of it, this sounds like progress. Are you clear on these guiding principles the two sides now understand in order to resolve the dispute over Tehran's nuclear program?
I think for quite intentional reasons, those guiding principles are being kept under wraps. It does, however, seem that the messaging from Tehran is more positive than the messaging coming out from the United States on what progress was achieved, if any, in Geneva. Now, the two sides have agreed to come back in the next 2 weeks with new drafts on these guiding principles to see if they can bridge the divides. But I should stress that this is happening against quite an alarming buildup of US military assets now on Iranian shores, and also a flexing of the military muscle by Iran in the Straits of Hormuz this week. And so both sides are really upping the military rhetoric, despite the fact that negotiators have been meeting in Geneva.
OK, so one of the core issues then is Iran's nuclear program. Where does it stand now, given the US attacks on its key facilities back in 2025?
Well, President Trump has repeatedly said that he obliterated Iran's nuclear program. This is despite the fact that his negotiators now want to discuss that very same nuclear program, which suggests that it has not been obliterated and it remains a threat. And if you look at most assessments by nuclear experts, Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium, which can be then turned into weapons grade, still remains, and its fate remains unknown. And that's enough for over potentially 10 nuclear bombs. And so this is one of the key focus areas for Western discussions and discussions from the international monitors who want to get back into Iran, is to find out where this stockpile is, how much of it is left, and what Iran plans to do with it going forward.
I said in the introduction that Vance says Iran has not acknowledged all of Washington's red lines. Does this mean that these talks extend beyond the nuclear program? Because there was some difference of opinion on whether it was just about that or whether it extends to Iran's ballistic capabilities and proxies as well. What are they actually negotiating over?
Well, right now, I think your guess is as good as mine, but it did seem that sensing Iran's weakness, both at home and after the June strikes, that the US essentially wanted to throw the kitchen sink at these negotiations that have resumed this year. As you said, a diverse range of issues, including also now Iranian domestic landscape following this very brutal crackdown that has left thousands dead in the last month in Iran. On the Iranian side, they have consistently said that they are only going to negotiate on technical terms related to its nuclear program, that its military activities beyond that on its missile defensive capabilities are not up for bargaining, because that's the only tool that Iran has right now to deter Israeli or US military action. And when it comes to the regional proxies and Iran's behavior in the region, essentially they've said no thank you to America, but that they have left the door open for discussions with regional players like Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar on these issues.
That's very clear. Thank you for talking us through that, Ellie Geranmayeh from the European Council on Foreign Relations.